Hey everyone, Shannon here from School of Trade. Today we're going to be taking a look at a range breakout, very strong breakout here on the S&P. So I'm going to place my stop up above here. I'm looking for my entry at 27 and 3/4. The first objective, we do have support sitting at 23 and a quarter. So I want to make sure to take some profit off there. So I'm going to be looking to take 3 contracts off, and we'll go ahead of it and just say 19.24. The next objective after that, and the big one that we're looking for, is 19 and a quarter. So we're going to go to 19.20, and we're going to take the other 2 off there, and that's what we're looking for in terms of the down move. So initially this morning we've been super slow, very slow grind higher here, and then we finally made our way into this range that look at these candles, right? We've just been stuck in this range for a very long time, and price is just having a really hard time going anywhere while we're stuck up here. Nobody really wants to get into any types of moves because they're not anticipating it going very far. So this nasty range kept us out pretty much most of the morning, but now we finally broke down very aggressively, and they followed through with it, right? So very strong breakdown lower. Sellers are going to be looking to jump in on board with this, and I'm one of them looking to continue this farther down. So an entry at 27 and 3/4 is after this nice little pullback that we have here. So great place to jump in right along with the move. Very nice bear candle, everything pointing back to the downside. So now we just have to wait for the sellers to continue this move lower. Now I'm primarily looking at an objective of this breakout move doubling up, right? So I'm looking for that breakout move to come in, and that's where that target at 19 and a quarter comes from. Now I'm not a big fan of putting targets on levels, as I say every time. So 19.20 is going to be that one. Intermediary support at 23/4, so our first target's coming off at 24. So from our entry point to our first target, we're looking at a total of 3 3/4 points, and the final target farther down for 7 3/4 points more. So plenty of opportunity on the table here to let this ride lower. We just have to wait for the sellers to come back in and grind it down. So everything looking really good for the short move. Now we just got to wait for the sellers to show up. All right, bears pushing down through the low a day here. We're coming close to our target, 1 tick away. I've got my stop locked in nice and tight here. After this big bear drop that kind of slammed through the lows, I don't want to ride out any pullback anymore. 1 tick away. Let's see if we can push through. Our target sitting at 24. We've gone to 24 and a quarter. Just a little bit more from the sellers, and we should be good to go. I really like how this is kind of shaping up. Lots of heavy bearishness. I think a lot of sellers definitely dove in with us at 27 and 3/4, and they're looking for that move down. Now, this support kind of floating in between our 2 targets here at 23 and a quarter. There we get the target filled. Adjust the stop. That target sitting there in the middle at 23 and a quarter, that area is going to be an area of not necessarily concern, but something that we have to keep an eye on. We really need to see the bears push through that level. 23 and a quarter is a very large area of support, and if we can't break through that zone, it makes us a little bit concerned for further downward movement. So if we get hung up around this area and we start seeing bullish bouncing, we may just have to exit early ahead of our primary target down there at 19.20. But if we can grind through the low of this rather, we should be clear for takeoff down to our target at 20. So all just kind of falls into what the market wants to do here, testing major support at 23/4. Now we just have to see them break through. All right, sellers able to close underneath that area at 23/4. We are seeing more than enough pressure to the downside, and you can see that follow-up. I think a lot of people were waiting for that close. Now that we know for sure that we're breaking down, a lot of sellers are going to start piling in. So our target's at 20. We've come 1 tick away, so I'm going to lock my stop in nice and tight here. 23 and a quarter, actually 23. I don't want to see this pull back at all. So we've got our stop nice and tight. Our target is 1 tick away. It seems to be the story for the S&P today. We come 1 tick away and kind of mess around for a little while before we actually get that push down. We had that earlier on that first target where it came 1 tick away from our target earlier, and it took another 3 or 4 minutes before it finally decided to drive through the low. And it looks like that's the exact same thing that's happening here. So our stop is nice and tight at 23. Worst case, we still make a very nice profit to the downside, right? from our entry. That's 4.75 points. Don't necessarily want to give back 3 points of profit, but it's a lot better than taking a loss and giving back a whole move back to our break-even area. So just kind of wait for the sellers to come back in. They've been doing this constantly through the entirety of the day, where they just kind of ping around and bounce around, and it's almost like they get going, but then they're like, oh, wait a minute, hang on. Let's kind of hang back a little bit and see if we should actually be doing this. That's just sort of the range type sentiment still working its kinks out. We can see that especially before we started breaking down, every single move was like that, where it popped up and like, oh, nope, sorry, didn't mean to do that. It did that on both sides. Look at all the wicks on the highs and lows. So very, very obvious that that's kind of what's going on right now, and we're seeing that down here as well. Lots of people aren't trusting a bigger move through the low of day, and they end up taking profit at the low of day, causing all of these wicks at the bottom as well. Not only that, but we're nearing into a major area of support at 19.25, so it kind of makes sense why you would see those profit takers kind of bouncing the market a little bit. So our stop is nice and tight. Worst case, we get stopped out at a really strong profit of almost 5 points. Best case, we get almost 8 points. So plenty of movement still. We just need to see the bears finish this move off and get this going back lower. We came one tick away. Stop reduces all of the risk, and now we just need to see a little bit more follow through. All right, as anticipated, sellers back down to the lows again after playing around with the stop area for us, looking like they want to finish the job here. So our target is down at 20, and there we get that target filled. So that's exactly what we were looking for in the move down. It just kind of played around a little bit, and that's kind of expected. We've been seeing that all day from the S&P, where we have to wait forever for our targets to get filled, and when it finally comes a tick away, nope, you still got to wait a little bit longer because it's going to play around more before it comes back for you. Overall, though, 1,362.50 on the trade. So 1,362.50 on the trade, coming out at 12.50 a tick is 109 ticks to the downside. So beautiful move, even though it did definitely test our patience a little bit. It ended up paying us anyway. So if you have any questions about it, feel free to send an email to School of Trade. Don't forget to check out our trial at schooloftrade.com. And as always, we'll catch you next time.